Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see my voice, or see my voice, hear my voice, and see my face, you know that once again it is time for the worst 90 minutes in all of sports podcasting. That's right, after a brief respite due to a slight back injury and work, I'm back. Bigger, badder, and twice as ugly. That's right. It is time once again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, and I am your host, as always, Mike. Producer Stead is floating around in the background. He's got some stuff going on at home, so he will join us shortly, along with a group of, well, just about anybody who we could drag up, and we do have a lot to talk about tonight. There was the small matter of an El Clasico in Spain, the North London Derby, which saw Arsenal extend their lead at the top of the Premier League table. Celtic keeps doing what Celtic does and winning games. Oh, yeah. And the Bundesliga is coming back. And lest I forget, a controversial win for the Red Devils to claim the Manchester Derby. So an action-packed show. We've got a great roster of people. Right now, our good friend Bayern Rob joining us. Rob, how's it going this evening?
Not too shabby, not too shabby. I'm just excited for the league to come back. I'm like really pumped. Like I've been watching all y'all Premier League fanboys get all up in arms or joy about your clubs, and I'm over here just like waiting for my club. I think the most excitement I had was Crystal Palace going down to 9 men, and that was it. You know, it's been. I feel I've had FOMO.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard when everybody else is back and you're still waiting out your Christmas break. It's so nice that they do it for you, but it's got to have been rough. You've really had no soccer since the end of the World Cup. And that was over a month. That was almost a month ago. How have you done it?
You know, I mean, let's see here. So I watch the Premier League, obviously. I pay attention to, kind of like the ins and outs. I occupied myself for a week with the new Shakira song. And I had the NWSL draft to keep me company as well. So I've had a little bit of footy, but I have not had like real games.
All right. So what did you watch this weekend? I was talking about some of the things I watched. A little bit of the El Clasico. Watched the North London Derby. Got the pleasure of watching the North London Derby with our good friend Coach G, who will be joining us. I just got back from New Orleans on last night. We watched Juventus get absolutely throttled by Napoli. The Manchester Derby. I was following Celtic's win in the semifinals of the Scottish League Cup, or the Scottish League Cup, I believe it is. So what were you watching this weekend?
All right, so I watched 3 matches. I watched the North London Derby, and I got words about that. I watched the Super Cup as well. And on replay, I watch my Scottish Premier League team, Livingston, the Pasta Boys, doing things in the league. I'm really impressed with them. And that's been, that was my football weekend. The Super Cup was kind of like, I watched it at the Buffalo Wild Wings, which is shocking, by the way, because, they had the NFL on. It's a thing here in this country. But
I wasn't aware that there was another type of football that we played in this country.
Yeah, apparently. But they put on I will tell you one thing. Besides the awfulness that the Spanish Super Cup, remember, Spanish Super Cup, not held in Spain, but held in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. All right, just more sports washing afoot. But besides that, all about the cheddar. Besides that, it was nice that it was on ABC.
Mhm.
which is huge. It's a good audience. And they should. I'm glad the House of Mouse was able to squeeze in a football match in one of their prime channels. So that's encouraging.
Especially when you were going up against the NFL playoffs.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? I will tell you, there was a couple tables at the Buffalo Wild Wings in Christiana, Delaware, that were watching the Super Cup. Shocking.
We had a whole lot of trouble streaming the North London Derby down where we were watching. The feed kept going in and out.
Mm-hmm.
I heard from somebody who was in contact with one of his friends who works for NBC, who happened to be there, who was saying that they just hadn't dedicated enough bandwidth. They didn't expect it to be that big, so it was keep coming up. It kept going in and out. So in light of that, it was great for ABC to put it on terrestrial television where you could just watch it and you didn't have to worry about buffering and anything like that. Overall, I felt like the presentation of that game was pretty good. The tournament itself was a bit iffy. I understand it. I understand why. This is the top couple of teams in the league, the finalists of the Copa del Rey. It's supposed to be, this tournament that most leagues play at the beginning of the season. They opt to play this in the middle of the season. In a season where you had a bunch of players go to a World Cup to then interrupt a league season to go back with these 4 teams to Saudi Arabia. But I understand, it's about the money. It's about getting the broadcast rights. It ended up a 3-1 victory for Barcelona. Xavi picks up his first piece of silverware. It may be the ice cream fork, but it's a piece of silverware nonetheless. He strikes the first meaningful, if you will, blow. Yes, Real Madrid beat Barcelona earlier this season in the first of the season's Clásicos, but this one had something on the line. Rob, is it time that we really think about reconsidering this whole entire thing with Barcelona and what they did this summer? We had all poo-pooed it. The Champions League gave us ample opportunity to look down at Barcelona because they went out of the Champions League in 3rd place with barely a whimper. Their defense was awful, losing games to Inter Milan and Bayern Munich, and not looking particularly competitive in any one of them. Remember, this was a team that in their last match gave up 2 goals to Victoria Pilsen. But we look at Spain. They've lost 1 game against Spanish opposition this entire season.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the question is here: if Barcelona win the league, but Real Madrid win Champions League, who had the better season?
I think that depends on who you ask.
Yeah, right.
I know for Barcelona, for Real Madrid, they measure their success in Champions League victories. If you come out of the season with a Champions League win, it doesn't really matter what you did elsewhere. You won the Champions League. And we've seen this before when they finished 3rd to Atletico Madrid, but won a champion to Atletico Madrid and Barcelona and won a Champions League. It was still considered a success. We've seen a couple of years in the midst of that 3 consecutive Champions Leagues where, they weren't as competitive with Barcelona. Throughout their history, it has been based ever since the advent of the European Cup on winning the Big Year Trophy. If they get down to the end of the season and they've won the Big Year Trophy, they've won the European Cup, they come back and have a nice run in the Copa del Rey, win that I think that's a successful season for them.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked where Barcelona is. I don't know if it's. I mean, losing 1, I thought they would lose more. But this is why they, for lack of a better term, mortgage the future. They want trophies. That's what they want. They want success. So this is, they win a trophy. It's going to be all worth it. The question is now, how what will the finances be next season. They're in Europa League now, so they're not going to get Champions League money. But you know, the freaking the supporters, the socios will be proud. They're like, we won the league, we'll work it all, mortgage the future again. And then what's going to happen is Barcelona won't learn again. They'll make Champions League. But the question is, how will they do in Champions League next season? All their kids will be much more, will be older, much more mature, have experience. So they can make a good run. The question is their finances. And Real Madrid, I mean, we said it on the show for years now. We talk about the midfield, and I know they lost Casemiro, which is a big piece here. But you still got Toni Kroos, you still got Luka Modric, who just don't age, but eventually they will. We think Benzema will eventually age. We think, and can Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. and others be enough to really mount, a challenge for a Barcelona side that is retooling and doing it while maintaining first place, which is kind of shocking.
I do think, as we talked about, they mortgage the future, but they mortgage the future to be competitive in the Champions League. Part of the issue that they're going to face is it's about $4.50 of Champions League money for every dollar that you make in the Europa League. So they could make a run all the way to the finals and win the tournament, and it still wouldn't make up for what they would get in basically just one round, the round of 16 of the Champions League. They can win La Liga, but we know that the prize money on offer in the Champions League and the knockout rounds of the Champions League is significantly more. And this was some revenue that they have banked in.
Yep.
Financial winning the trophy, I think, will appease the socios. The fans will look at it and say, okay, we were good. I don't know if the accountants will do the same at the end of the season.
Bingo. And I think that's what we need to look forward to. What kind of money will they have available to continue this sort of rebuild? Will they have to sell some pieces? Will they not have enough money to make this big splash that Barcelona wants to do? We don't know. We'll find out come July 1st, I'm assuming.
There may even be some deals executed before then. Remember, the Artur Melo, Miriam Pjanic switch was made before the end of the season so that they could balance the books before the end of the season. On a hypothetical possible, if Manchester United was still interested in a player like Frankie de Jong, who has given indications that he might be interested in moving there now. Again, this is the most protracted courtship ever in the history of ever. That could be done before the end of the season so that they could add those that money that they got for the sale of the player. Remember, when you sell a player, you can add that cash immediately. When you buy that player, you amortize the transfer fee and the salary over the life of the contract. So one of the things that we need to keep track of is whether or not they need to realize some significant financial gains before the end of the season to recognize that they balanced the books. But still, no matter what they do this season, accounting-wise, it's going to seem as though they're kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, they're going to kick the can down the road. And you know what? We'll see. They, at one point or another, somebody's have to give. They're going to either balance the books or someone's going to be like, the accountants are going to be like, no, we need to sell. But I will tell you, we among our roster here, we have a Barcelona superfan, and that's Yves.
And I was about to say the exact same thing. If only we had somebody on our roster who we could talk to about this. And guess who pops up? But Yves the bartender. Yves, a long time no talk. How goes it, my friend?
Hey guys, how's it going? Good to see you and hear you again. It's been a while.
Okay, Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año, all of that sort of stuff. Happy New Year. How's the wife? How's the kids? I haven't felt like I haven't talked to you in ages.
I know. I've been super busy, so I've been getting a new spot in DC in US Street, so it has been super busy. I've been working nonstop, and the hours are ridiculous. Like sometimes I finish working at 3 in the morning, so it's been ridiculous.
So Rob and I let's jump right into it. Rob and I have been talking about the Supercopa de España, uh, Barcelona coming out victorious in a El Clasico 3-1. One that, let's be honest, they pretty much dominated from start to finish. Xavi strikes first, gets the trophy this season, picks up some silverware. You know, feelings have to be good around the camp now, right at the moment.
Absolutely. Right now, it's all happiness, it's all smiles, and it's pretty much like saying goodbye to the previous season vibes and to the beginning of this year, the previous year vibes, that in which everything was so. It was such an effort. It was such an hassle for the team to like get a ball right, to get a pass right, and it seems that the formula is working. I mean, Xavi is kind of betting a lot on the youngsters, and definitely the combination between Frankie De Jong, Gavi, and Pedri is definitely working. And of course, it helps a lot to have an experienced striker like Lewandowski that he's not going to fail when he's in front of the goal. Doesn't matter what he has to do, he will put it in. So, yeah, the formula is definitely working. We also see a Dembele that has become a little more cooperative. I feel that before he was trying to like do too much by himself. Also, he was not very happy in the team. There were some like discussions of like putting him out and all this. And at the end, he stayed and has become a more cooperative kind of player. I think that the World Cup helped him on that a little bit because he tried to play his style in the World Cup, didn't work much. He became a little more collective in the World Cup, and then he started playing a lot better and contributing more. So I think that he's coming to the realization that he might be a little bit more of an assistant than a striker per se. So I don't know. It seems that everybody is playing a lot more comfortable. In the defense is very solid. The lines are very tight. Frankie De Jong with the first pass, impeccable. The team is just working right now.
It is one loss against Spanish opposition on the season. Sitting atop the league right now, pretty much at the halfway point, with a 3-point lead over Real Madrid. Are you at all surprised by their league position or the fact that they have been so good, so solid uh, in within their domestic competition?
Definitely, it was a little bit surprising at the league just because I think that it has been a combination of luck and momentum. But I suppose that somebody said once that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I suppose that this is what the team is doing right now. I was a little bit more surprised in the Super Copa because I didn't expect it to be like this. I thought that it was going to be a more complicated game. I thought that Real Madrid was going to go for it. It was going to be like really high pressure, and at the end, Barcelona had like as you said, it was total dominance to the point that even when you see that Benzema scored the goal in the 90th minute, he was kind of like apologizing because he felt that he didn't do his best performance, and the team was like so out of it. And Barcelona just played their game, and it was so exact on it. So the league is still, as you say, we still have like half season to go, and a lot can happen in half season. Obviously, right now the fans and the team probably feel a little bit more optimistic just because locally they've been playing really well. So we will have to see what happens also when the Europa League starts again, and hopefully we can get that trophy too. Because at the end, what counts is just getting some trophies, and the team really needed some.
So Rob and I were discussing this earlier. Financially, bowing out of the Champions League at the group stage is going to be a massive hit. I feel like from an emotional standpoint, Barcelona sold so much of this outlay, so much of the financial moves that they made over the course of the summer based on being competitive in the Champions League, and they failed to accomplish that. We're going to take that off the table now. If Barcelona is able to go through the remainder of the season and they come home and the big trophy that they won at the end is La Liga, is that a success for the fans?
I don't see it as much as a success. However, like the way that a lot of the fans think is like, oh well, it's at least Real Madrid didn't win it. But I don't see it that much as a success. Obviously, the international tournaments are a little bit more important financially. However, it will like give a little bit of hope for the next seasons. And definitely, I think that right now, as you said, the market is going to be very difficult for Barcelona because they don't have a lot to like trade. They don't have a lot to do. They just have a bunch of strikers that have proved not to fit into the scheme of the team. So I think that that's the only way that they can do something else to like kind of reinforce a little bit the defense and the middle field, especially the middle back. Yeah, you need somebody a little bit more defensive. Busquets is definitely his last legs, literally. So you need to find somebody that can take care of that position for him, like in a solid and a consistent manner. So far, the middle field is what has been the most inconsistent in Barcelona. So so it is that's the major need right now, in my opinion. And obviously, not counting with the international money is gonna hurt a little bit in the moment of like making decisions towards the future of the team. However, it is very it is like endearing, and it's a little bit it gives a little bit of hope to see that the youngsters, like betting for the youngster, has been a really good bet, or is becoming starting to become a really good bet. And especially because when you get players that young and you adapt them to the team and you get the identity of the team on them, they're gonna like give it all for the love of the club. You know what I mean? So that's definitely the bet. And if you ask me, I will definitely try to get somebody that is very young in the middle field, probably a little bit cheap because it's too young, and get it into the DNA, into the identity of the club. I think that that's the best bet.
All right. Before we move on to what was the biggest story out of Barcelona over the past couple of weeks, Rob, you are our guru when it comes to keeping track of the markets. We know names have been mentioned. We talked about the possibility of Frankie de Jong. That seems like it's going to be an outgoing that would happen over the summer. One name that keeps coming up as potentially leaving before the end of the month is Memphis Depay. What rumors are you hearing in connection with Barcelona at the moment?
With Memphis Depay, I think he stays. I think I think I don't think they're gonna make too many changes. I think he stays. I think they play decent. I mean, here's the problem. The problem is like he played a position where he's sort of like an expendable. He's big. He's a big money guy. Lewandowski has the striker's position or the attacking position. So there are rumors and rumblings, but I don't think he goes anywhere. At least not now. I mean, I think Barcelona is such in a position now where like any big changes will be kind of like unwise for them. I think they're just in a movement. They're in a position where they have momentum. They're doing one league. They'll add pieces here because they'll have a lot of competitions coming up. But the pie, I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to stay. He's a body, and then he'll probably go in the summertime, and that's the verdict. I think. I mean, it's just not a Barcelona thing to do for him to move now. I don't think.
All right, so let's move on with the time that we have left to the big story out of Catalan over the course of the past week, 10 days. Rob, I am not one that follows the gossip columns and the lives of wags that much, but it is well known that Shakira, the pop star, was in a long-term relationship with a certain well-known Barcelona center back. She released a song that hints at some sorts of infidelities, something about trading a Rolex for a Casio. I'm going to let you take this away and bring us through this controversy, which has overwhelmed Barcelona to the point where they were only able to win 3-1, and involves a player who actually isn't on the team anymore.
All right, so Mike, I know you're into the tactics, you're into the roster selection, you're into player improvement, and I love all that. I love all that for you. There is a place in the world for that, but there is also a place where football meets TMZ, and this is it. So for those who don't know, Gerald Pique, formerly of Barcelona, center back, Champions League winning center back. Shakira were an item. They were married. They had 2 children. Shakira kind of sort of put a little bit of her career on pause to move to Barcelona and raise, help, be a mom, be a wife, support him. And somewhat in the last couple of years or so, Gerald Pique was a bad boy, and there was some infidelity, and Shakira bounced and came back to America, brought the kids with her, and all that. And so she's been kind of quiet. Along the way, she's had a couple issues with the law because Spain is saying that she owes money for taxes because she was a resident there, and she's saying that no, these years I was not an official resident of Spain, I was somewhere else. But what Mike is alluding to here is more than a week ago, Shakira dropped a song called Bizarre Music Sessions number 53, and she goes in on Gerald Pique. Like, this is a little bit of a rap song. It's diss track, like straight out, like, it's like almost like LL Cool J, Jack the Ripper, Canada's second round knockout. It's just going in her way. And I love it. I love it all. Just a couple of lines here. Mike, you mentioned a couple of them. Shakira pretty much quotes saying, "You traded a Ferrari for a Twingo. You traded a Rolex for a Casio." And the Twingo is a little tiny car. A Casio is your first watch when you're a child, and obviously Rolex is a Rolex. I just love the shadiness of it all. This is beautiful. This is like it bleeds gossip. One of my favorite musicians, Shakira. I was always Team Shakira, by the way. Representing South America. And it's Gerald Pique in Barcelona, so screw them. So I love this. I love all of this. Now, recently too, Gerald Pique was pictured and videoed wearing a Casio watch, also sort of shade at Shakira, just kind of like simmering in that shade. So Yves, I know you heard the song. I know
Yes.
you have. You probably bumped it at the bar or the club. What are your impressions of Barcelona royalty, getting dissed in the music scene?
Well, first of all, I did like the song a lot. In this genre is a genre that is called like the fregadera or something like that. That is becoming a little bit more popular, in which some artists just use this DJ Bizarre to just like kind of throw shade at people. And she used it in a very elegant, very interesting way. And there's a lot of the things that she says that are very true. Like, for example, as you said, she put a lot of things in pause. She was taking care of the mother-in-law. She was like taking care of the family where this guy was like screwing around. And then at the end, he decides to like just move on into a relationship with this young girl. And what's hilarious is that if you analyze the things, a lot of the things that she says about like her capacity, like changing the Rolex for the Casio and all that, if you analyze it, Pique's career is over. like professionally as a soccer player. I don't see a lot of outlets for him. I don't see a lot of things that he can be doing. I don't think that he's gonna be a defender's trainer. I don't see him like working as a commentary or anything like that. So whereas Shakira at her 45 years old, she still has a bunch of career ahead of her. Like
Yeah, no,
her talents,
yeah.
her talents don't depend on her body, and it's still the guy got her into financial issues because a lot of the things that she was having in Spain are also because of him, because some shady maneuvers that he did with Barcelona regarding taxes, and they kind of splashed her a little bit. Besides the legal suit that he put, like the amount that he made her pay to be able to take the kids out of the country and all this, and still she's making more money. She's making more money than ever. So for me, it's hilarious. It's hilarious to see that this guy tried like to screw with her, and at the end, he's giving her like the best moment of her life. And in career speaking, no, like she was never that popular in the world level, like after the Waka Waka in the World Cup, and now she's number one hit everywhere. Exactly. Actually, they met recording that video. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I know. I do remember that. So also Gerald Pique's new bae is a woman called Clara Chia, and apparently she works for his production company Cosmos. Now, I think is this the same company that put on like that Keepy Uppy World Cup with the balloon? Do you remember that?
Yeah, remember? I think that was the same company. Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
yes.
Peru won that World Cup. By the way, in the balloon Keepy Uppy. So Viva Peru. Okay. So no, I look. I love all of this. I can't wait to see more. You know, for all we know, Shakira will post in something else. You know, I can't wait for Shakira to find another man who's, you know, maybe somebody who, you know, is a better footballer than Gerald Piqué, or maybe she just says screw football. I'm going to go to tennis or baseball.
Yeah, or like or maybe another artist. For example, she was before meeting Piqué, she was kind of like dating Alejandro Sanz, and she left Alejandro Sanz for Piqué. And Alejandro Sanz got really depressed. That's when he got really, really big. He started eating his feelings away. And yeah, and that's the thing. Like, in my opinion, it was a terrible trade-off. And the same way that Piqué did a terrible trade-off. And one thing that I didn't super love of the song is that she throws a lot of shade at the girl. And I don't know. I think that is a little bit against like Shakira's image of being like very feminist and like very supportive of women and things like that, because most of the things that affected came from Piqué, not really from Clara.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys that are married, some girl would come out along and hit on you. I'm pretty sure that happens, and I don't see you guys like going and doing some things and acting on it. You will?
Hey, look. I'm just saying. As a Bayern fan. As a Bayern fan, I get some attention as a Latin Bayern fan, you know, and I could schmooze a little bit. Now I ain't gonna do nothing, right? I tell you that I ain't doing nothing.
Rob, you talk big junk.
I do talk big. I talk big junk.
Your wife. I've met your wife. I know who runs that household, so I'm gonna cut this conversation off before I have to show it to her.
Yeah, no.
And you get yourself.
Yeah, but I just to end on this note, stay tuned because there's more. I guarantee there's more to come. Listen to the track, Shakira Bizarre Music Sessions number 53. Hit the Spotify link. Instead, if you can, please put the link to the YouTube video in the show notes so the world can see the brilliance that is Shakira, and her hips don't lie, but Gerald Piqué does.
Oh, absolutely. She was fantastic. It was a great song. I'm not gonna. Yeah, it was really good.
All right, Yves, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for delving into what's going on in the camp now, and keeping us updated on as the Spanish wags turn. So I know that being a Colombian, you have to be Team Shakira.
Absolutely.
So we will talk to you later on. Have a good week, my friend.
All right, you too, guys. Thank you for having me once again.
We're going to welcome producer Stead joins us in person. How goes it, my friend?
It's going pretty good. Going pretty good. It's a little dark in here. I got my little girl to fall asleep right behind me, so hopefully that
Yeah.
her coughing won't affect the show so much. But I'm glad I'm able to sneak on just for a little bit.
All right. Well, and you snuck on just in time because we're going to be joined by Coach G, and we're going to talk a little bit about the small matter of a game this weekend. G, how goes it, my friends? I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. Oh, I don't think he can hear us.
No,
And we can't hear.
I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either. All right, so G's got a couple of
There you
technical
guys
issues. Oh, there we go.
Hey,
Gee,
it's New Orleans, man. It's a shit show, so it's a crapshoot. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off. So hey, right now it's off.
All right, yeah. I was down visiting G this weekend. We ate all the food. We watched all the jazz. I can't thank him and Liz enough for their hospitality. There are very few things that we were supposed to do while we were down there that we didn't. We went to Commander's Palace, got a tour of
Phenomenal.
the kitchen and the wine cellar. Somehow got reservations at Dookie Chase. We are still trying to figure out where that phone is and who answers it because we can't figure out how we got the reservations. We can't figure out how they get through because we don't know if they actually really do have a phone on premise.
Well, the bigger question is how they call out to call XYZ, the inside story kind of thing between us, but how they call out to let them know, hey, yeah, they're here kind of thing. A magical phone that we have no idea about. So somehow, some way, the gods all smiled above us and said, hey, you're going to Doogie Chase today.
We did, we got Sazeracs, we got Hurricanes at Pat O'Brien's, walked down Bourbon Street, saw all the jazz, went to Preservation Hall, got beignets. Yeah.
Did you go to Cafe du Monde?
Yes, we did. Yesterday we went there. We got coffee and beignets.
So my favorite thing about Cafe du Monde is they put so much sugar in the beignets, and so I get the coffee, but I don't put sugar like the table sugar. I actually use the powdered sugar from the beignets into my coffee. And also, I hope you had some crawfish etouffee.
No, I did not get the crawfish etouffee, but I did have all the jumbos. We got poor boys at Pathway. Yeah, we did Parkway. I'm sorry,
but actually, right now, being a local, I would consider Elizabeth and I locals now. You really don't eat crawfish, even though it's in season. They're little itty bitty. It's not really worth it right now. So us locals, we don't really wait until after kind of toward the end of Mardi Gras. So for y'all visiting here, yeah, enjoy the crappy crawfish, and thank you for bringing your money down here.
Yeah, I will. My plan is to go down there March, April next year. And so I'll see you, G. And maybe the crawfish will be a little bit bigger.
We even saw them rehearsing for their parades. G introduced me to the Lazy Boy crew. These are my new favorite people. You join the crew. They take a motorized wheelchair and put a Lazy Boy frame over top of it, and then they roll up and down the street in a tricked out Lazy Boy. Some of them have lamps, some of them have entire bars. I mean, if you're going to march in a parade, why not recline and have a few drinks? It's like the most New Orleans thing ever.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, every little chair has their own theme to it. So one of my goals in life is to be part of that crew, kind of have a little soccer and a chess theme kind of thing. But yeah, man, it's going to be one of those things that Elizabeth is looking into her own cruise, and I'm looking to that crew and whatnot. So it's definitely party season, parade season, carnival right now.
All right, so on Sunday, despite a late night out on Saturday, we woke up and we managed to make it to Finn McCool's for the start of the Arsenal Tottenham North London derby. Gentlemen, this was kind of an epic scene. The bar is divided exactly in half. To the left are all the Spurs fans. To the right are all the Arsenal fans.
What bar was it?
It's called Finn McCool's.
Yes, I love Finn McCool's. Love that place. Good place. I'm glad you got to enjoy it.
And then there's me right in the middle of everybody wearing a Celtic jersey. So it It was, despite some streaming issues, it was a pretty comprehensive win for Arsenal. They looked like they dominated the first couple. To me, they dominated the opening passages. They get a deflective goal that goes in off of Hugo Lloris. Towards the end of the half, Odegaard comes down. He has a low shot that goes to Lloris's from outside the box that goes to Lloris's left. He can't get down there in time. And from there, Arsenal are able to see it out throughout the second half. They walk off 2-0 victors. They take the spoils. North London is red. And they now have a pretty decent, what is it? It's up to an 8-point lead over Manchester City. So, Stead, what did you make of the North London derby?
Spurs are really struggling right now. That's really what I saw. I think the most poignant thing I noticed was how Son was completely ineffective in that game. And I think that's how Arsenal were able to win as relatively easily as they did in that match. He disappeared. And I saw they were having real trouble feeding him. And I saw him out of position a lot because he's trying to get more involved, as what best players on the field will tend to do. Also, you notice that I thought Harry Kane actually played well, but to see how many times he was picking up the ball in his own box in the defensive third really let you know that they were really having trouble moving the ball. It seems like Conte's tactics are just not aligning with the squad anymore. And if this continues, they're going to be battling for a Conference League spot. I just don't see them really mounting. I don't really see them mounting really effective attack and really especially with, you have the Canes got 15 goals, but I don't see them putting a lot of pressure on Manchester United. I don't see them putting a lot of pressure on Newcastle. I just don't really see it. I think Spurs have to really go back and have a long tactical look at what they're doing and reassess if they want to actually compete for Champions League this year. I think any hopes they have of actually winning a title are long gone, even with that logjam that you're seeing between second, third, fourth, and fifth right now. From an Arsenal perspective, I mean, it was, there were some squeaky bum times in the end. I won't lie. There's still some things that Arsenal tends to do that they just can't seem to get away from. And that is that lull that they always seem to have in the middle of the second half where they just kind of go to sleep for a little bit. That occurred, of course. But I did see a team that didn't fold. I mean, William Saliba and Gabriel, I thought, played excellent games. I thought that Aaron Ramsdale was the reason why they won. He had 2 really good saves, but they weren't, necessarily like world beater astronomical saves that you can't imagine him doing. They were just good saves that you would expect any competent goalkeeper to make.
I think what it is the rebound. Where you punch the ball, it's where they went to. It was out of the box. It was deep away from the box in the corners. So there's no rebound. So if there was some kind of the Spurs get the ball back, he's got time to reset. The defense has time to reset, and they're all good. So very hard with the position and where the rebounds went to. Yes.
Agreed. And, that's something that I know Lloris has had some trouble with, is him parrying the ball away from the net. And yes, I will take a minute to talk about the fan who decided to kick Aaron Ramsdale at the end of the game when he went to pick up his water bottle. The worst thing I'm going to say about this whole situation is the man who did that is 35 years old. That's all I have to say. You're 35 years old.
It's all about the heart's passion.
I'm sorry. No. It's all,
I agree.
Hey, G, and the funny thing is, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to pile this on Spurs. Every team has those fans. Every team
if not older. Yeah.
Because I saw that they brought it up real quick, and I looked it up, and I was just seeing, I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to give him that much respect, but I looked at it. It's like, holy cow, that dude was 35, and he went out like a punk too. If you're going to reach over and you're going to stomp on somebody, stand there and man up. But you saw what he did. He was running out of there as fast. He was gone. He wanted no part. He wanted no smoke. I was like, dude, you can't light the fire and run from the smoke, man. You're a straight up punk. I hope the other Spurs. And you saw his boy try to kind of stand up for him a little bit, but you could tell he was like, you're a fool.
You're a fool for trying to get an Instagram moment.
That's right.
All
I
right.
guarantee there were Spurs fans who punched him like, you idiot. Get
Yeah.
out of here.
And he's going to lose his tickets to Spurs
He's going to go
Stadium.
see the magistrate on Friday. He's going to lose his tickets for life. He's out. He's like, you're 35. What is you got to go to work on Monday? What is your problem? You probably got 2 kids. What is your problem?
All right, G, it was a pleasure watching the game with you. What did you think of what we saw on Sunday at mid-morning?
It was real cool for me. It's my first time really seeing a derby like that at a bar. So we walked in, legit, it was half and half. So I was like, am I at the right bar? Because normally I've never seen any kind of opposition like that at Finn's. It was cool. It was cool to see that both the fans were going back and forth, very respectful. Definitely both sides had the knowledge of the game, which is always good to hear. Go to a bar and fans actually know what they're talking about. So it's good banter. But for an Arsenal, it's kind of what I expect right now. If we're supposed to be winning these games against our foes and our enemies, we should be controlling the game. And yes, like said, those are lows in the games that it's like, yep, here comes typical Arsenal. Yep, they're about to give up 1 goal at the very end of the game, and oh crap, here we go, bite our nails again. But we kind of didn't see it, and kind of like what I hinted before. But like I said before, is when Ramsdale was in control of his 6-yard box, he was in control. Everything that he was talking left to right, all the rebounds, he was punching it very far. He read everything correctly. So it wasn't like he was truly diving, stretching every fiber of his body to save goals. A lot of it was very comfortable for him. So his vision has been very well right now. Defense stepping up. I'm always scared about the offense, but you know what? Oh, shit. This year is an anomaly, and the offense is still kicking right now, even without our number 1 Jesus guy. So they're finding people left and right to score goals. You have different people at different times of the game step up to be leaders. It's not just always the captain. It's not just Xhaka. It's not always Odegaard. There's other people at different times, and you love to see that, especially with young people or young players like that. I'm still going to sit back and ride this. Hopefully this is the year. If not, man, we're knocking on that door next year. So things are looking good. Here it is, winning more points against our enemies, our rivals, and 3 points against for the good guys away. That speaks volumes for our young team right now.
So our resident Spurs expert, Los, is off doing what he should be doing tonight, celebrating his retirement with his wife. He's earned that right. So we are going to have Bayern Rob step in and talk about this match from the Spurs perspective. Rob, this is the middle of a run where you feel like Spurs have underperformed, especially against opposition above them. They've struggled against the likes of United, City. They've now lost to Arsenal. This is not a great run that they're on. What does this? What does this loss mean for Antonio Conte and Tottenham?
It means that he needs to go back to the drawing board and do something different, because if they continue to play this way, they're not going to sniff Europe. You've got other teams sniffing. Well, shockingly enough, Fulham and Brighton are there. And because, look, I can't stand the back three. I think the back three is terrible. I don't like it. The midfield is really, it doesn't know what it wants to do. Nobody knows what who's going to really defend, who's going to really push. And I feel bad for a lot of these players. I love Højbjerg. I love Kane. And how can anybody not like Son? I'm sorry. He's, and he's getting in a lot of heat on social media. They had chances, and Harry Kane's always dangerous, but like, there's just times where if Son is marked out or just not having a good game, there's no one to give Harry the ball in proper service. And, it's getting to the point that there's like a bunch of good players, like a few good players on Spurs, and then everybody else is just way below them as far as talent level goes. Players like Ivan Perisic, he didn't start here. He played, and he's played well sometimes, but other times he shows his age. He's had a lot of miles in the legs. And also, like, if he plays, they put him out as a wingback, which is weird. So no, like the own goal really hurt them. I think if they kept it a little bit closer, I think the momentum could have gone a little bit maybe Spurs' way because they had their chances and they have Harry Kane's always dangerous to strike. But the problem with Spurs is their next couple of games is not easy. You got City, obviously, City in City. I mean that stadium's like not full, right? We get it, but then you got Fulham, who is like they're dangerous.
I don't
I'm
even want to
sorry.
play Fulham right now. Nobody wants to play
No,
Fulham
I don't
right
want to play. Do you want to play Tim Ream in Fulham? No, I mean I don't want to play Tim Ream in Fulham.
But
right?
but you look, Mitrovic, if he hadn't slipped in that PK, that's a different game.
Exactly. So Spurs need to get it together. They don't have much time. They have 2 days to figure this out from now. And it's City. I know City lost, whatever, but it's City. It's Kevin De Bruyne and the boys, okay, and Pep and his tactics. So and then they got City again. They got City again after the FA Cup. They got City again. So it's not gonna. If they're not careful, they could drop like 9 points, like easily. They really can. And then it's like, to me, it's like, and here's the thing: is Conte the problem? Is it the roster selection? What is it? Because look, let me tell you, this offseason and this summer, Kane has 1 year left on that deal. Do you blow it up? I don't know. I mean, do you sort of can't, but you might have to. And that might mean a new manager. And so, especially if they don't get into Europa. It sucks because like I like the player. I like a bunch of players on Spurs. But man, Arsenal, man, they're just that this might be the year. I mean, I think we talked about when you can start thinking about holding that trophy. And maybe today or this weekend was the first time the first thought into your head like popped into your head where you can maybe imagine yourself touching a trophy. Maybe not yet.
It peaked in a little bit. It
peaked,
little bit. It did peak in though.
It was a little shimmer, like it was almost like someone turned on the light switch and turned it right back off.
Yeah,
you saw it, and then it went away real quick to remind yourself a lot more football left.
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's hard not to when you look at what happened. It's not only that Arsenal beat Spurs. It's that they watch United beat Manchester City and then know that they have the opportunity to extend their lead on Sunday. And when you're chasing, that can be a lot of pressure, right? And it's in a way, North London derby. And they go out and they get a really, really, really solid win.
And it was massive too, because like Arsenal have never won at the new White Hart Lane. They've never won there. So to win after a couple of losses and a bunch of draws, but also to win when you had a chance to make a move. How often have we seen them not win that game? Arsenal win 5 in a row when everybody else wins 5 in a row. But then when they get a chance to make a move, and last year you saw they had legitimate chances to finish as high as third, if even second. And you saw that when the opportunity came, they couldn't capitalize. So to see them capitalize, even if it's only at the halfway point in the season, it's still a characteristic that they have not displayed well at all in the past 10 years. So I was happy to see that, not just that they won that game, but that they won it on the same weekend that you saw the other team that everyone expects to win lose. So that's where I thought that was the biggest deal.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's that's more than 3 points.
Basically, it's like 6 points almost. Yeah.
Yeah, it pretty much is. So you guys mentioned Aaron Ramsdale. Wow, he made some saves, man. He kept John. He won the game for y'all. Mike, you said it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
said it, man.
No, he won the game. Yeah.
Damn shame he got kicked in the head by an idiot. But man, just
35.
35 loser. Just great keeping. The total inverse of Hugo Hugo Lloris, just I don't know what Lloris is thinking on that ball. I mean, like it's like goalkeeping 101.
Yeah.
I know he retired from France, but man, that's not a way to do it, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if he retires for good within the next season or two. He's 38 years old. He has nothing to prove. He's a legendary goalkeeper.
He's a world champion.
So he's a world champion, and
he's won a World Cup. He started
Mm-hmm.
a Champions League final.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he would like to win a European trophy with Spurs. We just don't see where that's coming.
Yeah.
But let's turn forward. This Sunday, it is another big match and another chance for Arsenal to get revenge, this time at home.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to give my thoughts a little bit later on this. I anticipate that we will be joined by Coach Matt, unless something changed while
he's in the Caps game. I
The
think
Caps game, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I won't have the ability to talk much about that to him, but it's the matter of a Arsenal Manchester United game. Now, instead, G, and talking with a number of the Arsenal fans, this feels like a renaissance season for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit that Arsenal are a little bit further along in their process, but in talking to a number of fans, I was talking, and the same thing kept coming back. This feels so much like a rebirth of the classic Wenger and Ferguson rivalry, right? Like, we're back there, both teams are in their ascendancy. Arsenal may be a little bit more of a finished product at this point, as evidenced by the fact that they're sitting at the top of the league. If you had told me after those defeats to Brentford and Brighton to start the season that Manchester United will go into the halfway point, sitting in third place, a point behind Manchester City, or fourth place on goal differential, but a point behind Manchester City, with a game in hand over Newcastle in third, I'd have probably really laughed at you.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where we find ourselves. The first one went to Manchester United. Arteta admitted that he got some things wrong. G, I'll start with you. What are you expecting from this Sunday's rematch between Arsenal and Manchester United at the Emirates?
Well, definitely we're going to see two teams with maturity, and obviously the last time that we played, you have Ronaldo, and like we talked about when you were down here, is he just kind of that cancer, kind of that just you threw everything off, and now you don't have that kind of distraction anymore. So you have a team who's been playing extremely well since right before Christmas time. So here's a team who's flying up, who went down 1-0 in a derby and came back to win 2-1. Right there with kind of a newer coach into the system, brand new kind of everything in that system. It's looking really good for Man United. And as for Arsenal, we're still kind of banged up. We're trying to get some of our players back who were healthy or were not healthy before. And now we're kind of seeing a different, but now a more mature, stronger, maybe a more thirstier team with Arsenal. So we're going to see maybe a closer match than what we saw the first game. Maybe a 0-0, maybe a 1-1, maybe 1-0. But it's going to be extremely close. I think it's going to be a better game, faster game, a cleaner game. I think it's going to be a game who kind of tell which side or which way both the season could go from here on in.
Yeah. Of course, Manchester United always makes me nervous. I'm more afraid of them than I think any other team, no matter what place they're in. But I was happy when Arteta just admitted that he got it wrong. I was happy that he just admitted that he kind of did what his mentor does sometimes. I mean, we see Pep do that from time to time, where he outcoaches himself and he can make the mistake where he thinks he's smarter than everybody else, but then he always kind of says, "No, that was my fault. I messed that one up." And so it was good to see Mikel do that. This Man U team is surging, though. I mean, they look really good. I mean, yes, I'm sorry, Rashford, you were offsides. That you possessed the ball. The ball was between your legs, and you were making a play on the ball. That was offsides. But that's one play. You know what I mean? Yes, it led to a goal, but still, it's one play. If that goal hadn't have stood, it still would have been a draw. So it wasn't like City would have won that game anyway. And I thought Manchester United had a lot more chances. They just seemed to want it more than City did. And you saw a deflated City team where it seemed like Haaland wasn't getting his milk poured in his cereal the right way, and he was upset about it, as opposed to them actually trying to update tactically and try to find better ways to break down Man U's defense. But, I'm glad to see Rashford playing well. I am. I mean, you got to love that kid. Glad to see him playing well. I Bruno Fernandes is becoming the new Wayne Rooney for me. I can't stand him because he's a good player, and but to see him really, really, really take over that team, and I mean when I really think that when they had that handshake, that viral video where Ronaldo walks in the locker room for Portugal and he approaches Bruno Fernandes and Bruno Fernandes blows him off. I think that was actually that meant something. That meant this is mine now. You need to stop. And I can't stand that dude because he scares me. He does. So I do think though, I think as a recent Arsenal fan could feel very excited about the chances of the squad going forward. Someone who's kind of followed this team for a while, there still is that little bit of trepidation where you're seeing that Arsenal is still putting things together. They still have some of the same general problems that they've had over the past 10 years. And, Spurs weren't good enough to capitalize. Manchester United is good enough to capitalize. So I think it'll really fall on the backs of how well can Saka play? How well can Saliba play? And can Granit Xhaka keep from getting in trouble? Because he almost did against Spurs. Can he keep himself in the game? I think if those three things align themselves the right way, I think Arsenal can pull this game out.
I have to give, yes, Rashford was offside. You got to give him credit for the fact, though, that he played to the whistle and threw.
Agreed. Play the game.
And even
it's
more
not his job to
so,
call offsides.
Even more so, it was Bruno who played to the whistle. Yes, he was offside. He admitted he made the move to the ball. He slowed down. He sees Bruno cutting in. He knows that he can't touch the ball. He doesn't. He lets Bruno. He gets the goal. Leave it in the ref's hands. Let them make those decisions. Did they make the right one? I don't know. But it was a smart football play insofar as you played to the whistle and you made the refs make a call on something. Ultimately, that particular call went the right way. As you stated, instead, he then goes back, puts a goal in. It's 9 and 8 games for him. He is on the best vein of form that he has had. He's truly leading the line and a key player. We have seen, from a Manchester United perspective, we have seen Erik ten Hag make some really tough calls. The most famous one, of course, will be getting rid of and dropping Cristiano Ronaldo and showing him the door. But let's talk about what he has done with Luke Shaw, dropping him in August after the Brentford loss. He doesn't play a game again until October. Comes back after being a star for England as a playing for so well for England as a left back. And what's he do? He moves him in as a center back against Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland. And he was effective. Now, for him to move inside, for him to move Luke Shaw inside, for Ten Hag to move Luke Shaw inside, two things have to happen. Number one, you have to displace your former starting center back, who was Lisandro Martinez, who just happened to have helped Argentina win a World Cup. And you have to displace the nominal club captain, Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, who started as England's starting center back, has gotten replaced by England's starting left back, who is neither his match in stature nor physicality, but was just able to bottle up Erling Haaland, who had come into this on a rich vein of form. We saw him make those calls with Casemiro, who for the first couple of games that he was playing for almost a month, didn't start, now has become undroppable. He made a tough call. He allowed himself to be talked into starting Anthony Martial, but then gave him the quick hook at halftime and said, I'm going to play Alejandro Garnacho. And G and I were talking about it. Here's a kid who I think has immense talent, but has been so frustrating to me at times because I can see all the talent there, but sometimes that first touch is a little too heavy and he turns the ball over and a promising attack fizzles out. Sometimes he gets caught when he should center the ball. He tries to take a man on and we miss a goal-scoring opportunity, right? But then he can make that one move, put a defender on skates, center a ball for Marcus Rashford, who has nothing to do but score, what eventually becomes the winner. At the same time, Alonga, who he started at the beginning of the season, hasn't been seeing the field. Jadon Sancho has been left in the wilderness. So I've got to, G and Rob, give Ten Hag all the flowers in the world for the decisions that he has made, right? At the same time, G, we talked about what the decisions, not just this year, but over the course of the last 3 years that Arteta has made. You know, the decisions to start with to bring in and to rely so heavily on the likes of Smith Rowe and Martinelli and of course Bukayo Saka, you know, to drop, then bring back Granit Xhaka. You know, we were talking to the season ticket holder at Finn McCool's, who was saying he was there when Xhaka got booed off the field, and now he's one of the more beloved fans in the building. You know, Arteta's gone through at least 3 different formations that I can recall, from 3 at the back to a midfield 5 to a midfield 4 to a midfield 3 to I don't know, 2 midfielders, 1 midfielders, 5 golden rings. I don't know, G, but he's made those calls over.
And don't forget about David Luiz too. So,
oh yeah,
with that gem in there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, but the one thing that these coaches have in common, and I'm sorry if I'm frozen right now. Hopefully you can hear me. That it's consistency. It's my team. If you don't like it, get out. I'm going to put the best players in the best positions, and hopefully they do well. And so far, you're seeing that. You're seeing these stars, even for Arsenal, Aubameyang. He took off. They said, you know what, we don't want you anymore. We don't need you anymore. See you. You don't fit our new kind of look. You see that with Ronaldo. Like, who gives up Ronaldo and has this kind of bad relationship? But if it doesn't work for the coach, it doesn't work for the team, and it's his kind of chess game that he's got to play. See ya. And you really see that these two managers have really put their stamps on their club. Arteta is a new coach doing this, where Man U's coach. He's been around for many years. He's been over in the Dutch league, and he's got the experience at Ajax. So he's got this top level kind of coaching where he can kind of just do what he wants, and it has success so far. That's why Man U has brought him over. So Arteta's finding his way, and they're both are putting their true stamp. And we talk sometimes about longevity in sports, and you can see these two guys, hopefully the money's there, to stay at these two clubs for a very long time. Hopefully this kind of carousel of finding the right coach at the right time, and both of these clubs have done that right now. So, Mike, you said, you know, for the last couple of years, you know, Man U has been gone through 3 or 4, so it's been hard to get continuity. For Arsenal, kind of the same thing. So now you have these two coaches who put their stamps on and say, hey, I'm a proven winner. This is how it's going to be. If you don't like it, get out. And right now it's being successful. So you see Arteta really changed around this team from, 20th place last year to now first place. And we got a huge little chunk. So hopefully this doesn't come back to bite us in the bud, but you just kind of never know.
You got to give, though, the Arsenal board, because I'm not going to lie, there have been times where we on this show have spoken about, you know, how much more time does Arteta have as manager. There were times where he would go on a losing streak at the end of one season, at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season. He's yet to really put down a consistent full season. But just by nature of them, the management keeping him in position, we're starting to see what the benefits of that are. You know, most of us had Arsenal down towards the beginning. We thought they were kind of fortunate to get into the Champions League last year, despite what Stead said about them getting into having a chance to finish second or third. After that season in which they missed the Champions League completely and finished sixth, everybody felt like Arteta was fortunate to come back. Now you're getting all the benefits of the longevity. He has built his team, and it is a young team. It is built for a run, and it just so happens that the ascendancy of Arsenal happens to coincide with what we can see as a palpable decline of teams like Liverpool, a palpable decline right now of teams like Chelsea, and wobbles by Manchester City. Playing the long game for Arsenal has certainly paid off as they're now in this position. I can't remember. I believe this is the first time in well over a decade, maybe as many as 15, 16 years, that Arsenal has been in first place this late in January.
Yeah, and looking at the standings a couple years ago, I'm like, man, like we got replaced by Leicester City as one of the top six. It just seemed like kind of the roles had reversed. That's how much Arsenal has dropped, and it's kind of good. Obviously, you see them kind of moving back. Yeah, it's really built for the longevity. It's not built for right now. And like Arteta said, give me about 3-4 years. Let me kind of show you. I have this big, huge game plan, and the owners trusted him. So you kind of have to have, stick your neck out for a coach like that, who A was a ex-player, but also B, he served under Pep, and what a better head coach to kind of study under. So when you have that kind of recipe and that kind of desire to put his stamp on the game and on Arsenal, and he said it's gonna be my way or the highway, you see such great success, especially with these young bucks. So definitely helps out with great scouts. Looking at the possibilities of buying low and selling high. So along the way, Arsenal has bought high and sold low, which kind of obviously backfired. But going through all that kind of ups and downs, it's really good to see that everything kind of smoothed out right now. So when the boat was rocking, everyone was jumping off it, and right now people are like, whoa, we got something going on here. Now you hear a lot of people are praising everyone that was our enemy at one time. All the coaches, all the players, Xhaka, and everyone right now loves the team. So Arteta really said, this is going to be my team. This is how it's going to be. It's going to be my formation. I'm going to figure this stuff out. I can't do it with this player. I can't do it with that player. Sell him. He really tried to play this game as a game of chess. I keep on referring back to that just because, I don't know, it just seems like a right metaphor right now. But when you have these
and you're a bit of a chess player.
Oh yeah, I'm a nerd like that. But yeah, and again, if I have my lazy boy and have my chess set going up and down with a whatever the group. But yeah, it's really to the game. But that's what all sports is. You have the investors, you have the owners to put money into their game, and hopefully their manager can pull it off, and hopefully that they have enough energy and enough power to suggest these kind of moves. And when you have an owner who really trusts the coaching and the coaching staff, you have this great success. So. It's really built for the longevity, and it's great to see that hopefully the money's going to come around to keep these now young phenoms so they don't kind of jump ship. His stock is rising through and through and through, and I would hate to see this young Englander go overseas or even La Liga, like Real Madrid or Barcelona pull him out. But I would love for him to stay there, but you never know. But right now in this season, things are looking great for us. I love the recipe. You told me this a couple of years ago. I would say you're lying. You're full of crap. But right now in Arteta, I trust.
We talk a lot about and everybody. It's not just we, but even in talking to other Arsenal fans this week and another, everybody speaks about Arteta, and he learned how this under Pep Guardiola. I feel so many times like people forget that Arteta played under Arsene Wenger before he played under Pep Guardiola and before he managed that, right? He played a very central role in Arsenal's midfield under Wenger, where he was asked to tactically see the ball, to see formations of play. I felt like a lot of times under Wenger, he was asked to be a coach on the field, which is why he was brought to Manchester City and given that role in the first place. So he is a mix of Arsene Wenger, Pep Guardiola. There's even a little bit of David Moyes in there, insofar as I am going to do, if needs must, what needs to be done to win a game. And so
and when you look at his stats, he's not heavy on the goals. He's not heavy on the assists, but he had a very good career. He's an IQ player. He's not a Messi when it comes to those kind of stats, but he's an IQ player like Messi, where you make these great runs. You see the field. Again, here you go, chess. A couple moves ahead of time, so you can kind of plan out your next move. And he has such great success as a tactician on the field. And like you said, Wenger kind of gave him the reins and, hey, you have to become a sub coach on the field because I can't be there. We're the Emirates. It's very loud. We need you on there. And you saw that really in his game, kind of take over that central midfielder, like you kind of alluded to. So yeah, he had that IQ along. And like I said, you look at his stats; they weren't phenomenal, but they were just kind of average. But for him, it was just about the technician on the field, and you're absolutely right. He was always kind of that coaching player kind of through his career, and now you look at him through success, through, like you said, through Wenger, through his experience over at City. He's got a lot of things in his bag right now. So nothing but the upside with him.
All right, G, let's switch gears a little bit and discuss one of your favorite topics: Italian football. Number one.
Mamma mia.
New Jersey's released the first Italy ending its long run with Puma, switching to Adidas. We'll put some pictures.
Yeah, and up. When I saw that today, when Matt posted that, I go, "Oh my God, that's my next kit I gotta buy." Finally, Italia got away from Puma. I hate Puma for whatever reason. They run super like baby thin, baby skinny. I wear a size 12 regular shoe. I can't fit in any of their shoes whatsoever because they're so darn narrow. I'm Italian. We don't have narrow feet. We don't have narrow noses. Look at mine. It's kind of wide. But hey, forget about it, But yes, there's now a beautiful relationship with Adidas. Me and my girlfriend, my fiance, my future wife. We're going to get Adidas through and through. And now this really gives us another avenue to support our heritage teams and everything. So I'm surprised they didn't bust it out while you were down here. I didn't want to get my white all dirty, and everything with the nice food that we ate. So yeah, I love the relationship right now with Adidas. Adidas.
We will be showing those when we get the opportunity. This weekend started on Friday with the rivalry game in between Napoli and Juventus. Juventus have been resurgent since Allegri switched to the back three, winning 8 games in a row in the league. But then they went south to Napoli, and it ended up 5-1. Victor Osimhen is having himself a season and a half, right? He missed some time with COVID last year, missed some time with injury due to a broken nose, but he has been so central to everything that Luciano Spalletti has done. And as far as probably the game that represented the biggest marker that we have seen thrown down this year, this blowout, this demolition job that Napoli laid on Juventus was absolutely all of that. Not only was it a great team performance, but they pretty much put their foot down. It is now a 9-point lead in Serie A for Napoli. And for the first time in 22 years, we could. There's a possibility, folks. We could see a champion from Southern Italy. Now, to put this in perspective, the Southern Italy teams, the major Southern Italy teams, Napoli, Lazio, and Roma, have won a combined 7 first division titles. in Italy. If you want to throw in Cagliari, which is on Sardinia, they would represent an eighth. So non-Northern Italian teams have won 8 total Scudettos in the history of the Italian league and its various permutations. Juventus has 36 by themselves. Bologna has 9, right? It has been 20 years. The last time that Napoli won a championship themselves in the first division, Maradona was their leading scorer. So it has been a while. We kind of saw Napoli first in the Champions League. The demolition job that they put on Liverpool in that first game was one of those ones that made everybody stand up and notice, right? But that was early in the season. We're now just a game shy of the halfway mark in the league season. We've been through the World Cup break, and they look to have have all the momentum going forward right now. Luciano Spalletti is when you talk about veteran campaigners, I mean, I didn't realize how long he had actually been around. And so, but he's a guy who has spent his entire career in Serie A. He's been to Roma. He's been at Inter Milan. He's coached in the North. He's coached in the South. He's coached in the East. He's coached in the West. If there's one thing that Spalletti knows how to do, is coach in Serie A. He's been able to put together runs like this before. I know in the mid-aughts, I think it was 05, 06, he got Roma to the Coppa Italia, which I believe is their last competitive trophy. So he's been there, he's done that. This, though, would represent probably his greatest success. Taking a Napoli team that pretty much for the last 10, 15 years has been there or thereabouts, but just never quite able to make the breakthrough. We've said on this show that we expected that the World Cup would bring some changes, would bring some odd things that we didn't necessarily see happening. Let's acknowledge the fact that Arsenal at the top of the league come the halfway point in the Premier League, probably one of them. I don't know how many of us, if anyone, had Napoli running away with Serie A in the manner in which they are currently doing it, right? Not to say that they weren't a great team, but perhaps we just didn't understand the players. We didn't know what they had. We didn't realize the amount of talent. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see what happens come the end of this season. We're used to seeing Napoli have to sell players. We've seen this before, right? We've seen them build up a team, make a run at a league title, make a run at a Coppa Italia, make a run in the Champions League, but then be forced to sell because they just don't have the money to retain their players. And that's a thing that happens throughout Serie A. You know, is Kvaratskhelia going to be sold? He's going to be worth a lot of money if he is. Victor Osimhen, probably $100 million player right now if he were to leave in this summer. So it'll be really interesting to see. But finally, we have a little bit of competition from the south of Italy. So I have both Rob and Stead back on the line. I wanted to get your thoughts, gentlemen, if you had any, on Napoli's demolition job of Juventus, which kicked off my soccer weekend on Friday.
It's kind of nice to see, my only really I guess my first exposure to Napoli was because of Diego. And for a long time, the south of Italy is this punching bag for the rich north, with the Milans and Turins up there. So it's a nice story. Juventus they're kind of in a lull here, and fully expected. Napoli's the better team. They're going to win the Scudetto.
They would be the first Southern Italian team. I said a couple of minutes ago while you were off handling child duties. They would be the first Southern Italian team to win the Scudetto since 2000, 2001 when Roma won it. Their last title came in 89-90 with Maradona.
Yeah. They're just Juventus. Napoli just took advantage of Juventus being where they are. They're just not the same team anymore. They don't have the star power anymore. And that's the end of it. I'm sorry, Juventus, I don't know what they're going to do. Do they, we know there was rumblings about them having financial issues. And so with that being said, I don't see Juventus being a factor for a while. This might, for all we know, is going to be Napoli, Milan, and Inter being the top three for a bit. But Napoli, man, and just a side note, because they had this awesome weekend smashing Juventus. They came out with a new kit that has red lips on it for Valentine's Day. It's pretty darn hilarious. You need to go see it. It's pretty damn funny. So yes, they kiss the Scudetto goodbye, Juventus, because Napoli just wiped the floor with them. And look, I watched a lot of Juventus, or a decent amount, I should say, because for only one reason. Mr. Ranch dressing himself, Weston McKennie. And I'm glad he's playing, but there's really nothing, there's really nothing else to be excited about at Juventus at all.
All right, Stead, what did you think of that?
Well, I mean, the sad thing though is that Napoli crashed out of the Coppa Italia today in a shootout in the round of 16. So it's like, but it's good to see that I'm not surprised to see they're going to hyper focus on, of course, winning the Scudetto, considering that, it's been 30 plus years. But I think it's more of just like a state of where Juventus is. And they've had to climb to get to the position that they're in currently. They were not in third for most of this year. They've been toiling around in seventh and fifth and for a while. So I think if anything, the concern is simply what you were talking about earlier. Is this a surge of Napoli to win this year? They sell 170 million euros worth of players, and then they end up back battling for Europa League again. If that's what's going to happen. But I think though, if I was a Napoli supporter, I wouldn't care at all about any of that. I wouldn't. I would be like, this is a chance for us to win a championship. Whatever you have to do to lock this up. Because yes, you're up. I mean, their point differential is pretty much the same as Arsenal's, I believe. I think they have 47, and the next team has 38. So they're sitting pretty comfortably. Except I don't see other teams in Italy really mounting a strong resurgent comeback. It just seems like Napoli's just kind of running through it, and I could see them locking this up pretty early, to be honest. I could see them locking this up in I won't say late March because of the World Cup break, but you can see them locking it up in the middle of April.
It's going to be interesting how they bifurcate their attention, given that they still are in Europe and competing there. They are not the deepest team in the world. One thing that they do that is they play at such a high pace that it's unusual for the Italian game as it stands right now. They play at something closer to a Premier League pace with the pressing, with the running, with the speed at which they play, and it catches a lot of teams off balance, because the Italian game tends to be a little bit slower,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more defensive. We've seen teams be successful with this sort of power attack, which is what Juventus did for so long. You know, it's almost like Spalletti watched what Juventus did, realized that he didn't or never was going to have the caliber of players that Juventus had to do it. So got the next best thing that it could, which was a whole bunch of really quick racehorses and tall guys to lead his line and say, we're just going to run at people as fast as we humanly possibly can. And if you don't mind a bunch of pretty quick guys who are all about 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", running directly at your defense, hey, stand there, have fun with it. I agree with you completely because of the fact that it's been so long since even just a Southern Italian team has been able to be in this position. If you're a Napoli fan, you really don't care what happens next season. Next season's going to be next season. It's not like we have this immense record of success over generations and generations. Less than 20 years ago, they were bankrupt. They were in Series C. Right. At one point in time in the early aughts, they lost the rights to their own name when they went bankrupt. They had to get back up to Serie B before Aurelio De Laurentiis could buy it back. Right. This is not so. If you're there, you do what you can. Future be damned. You know, take the money and run. So, you know, great to see them. I think they're an exciting team to watch. I think they're a fun team to watch. I think much like when Leicester won the title those years ago, it is a reflection not only of their skill in the game that they play and how they're being managed, but it's a reflection of the state of where the other teams are right now. You know, Juventus is in decline. They are probably at the worst point that they've been at since they returned from Serie B after Calciopoli. The project Inter has slowed down a little bit. They were already an old team. You know, they have kind of lost some of their momentum. The Inter Milan project, the AC Milan project has been start and stop pretty much since Berlusconi sold them. You know, just when you think they're about to make the breakthrough to return to a consistent top of the league, they fail. So you are left with a team like Napoli that can finally take advantage of it and take advantage they have. So, Rob, we have a little bit of time left, and it's your turn to shine. Bundesliga, much like Cotter, not Qatar, but Cotter, the teacher, and from the show. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We didn't know how much we missed you. The Bundesliga returns. What should we be looking for as we resume after the extended World Cup and holiday break?
You need to see how Bayern do without Manuel Neuer. I know this 17-18 season, he was out for most of the year. And that was the season where Benzema just made a mockery out of backup keepers Van Alright. Neuer, for those who don't know, broke his leg skiing in the offseason. Why was he skiing at the age that he is? I have no idea. His contract did not prohibit him from skiing, which sometimes players' contracts tell them not to do certain things. But here we are. He's out. The sweeper keeper is gone. We probably won't see Neuer the way we know Neuer to be ever again. The rumors are that it's worse than we think it was, and he's not going to be back probably until next winter, if that. And we don't know what kind of player he'll be. Bayern are having issues trying to get a couple keepers. At one point, they try to get back their keeper, Nubel, from Monaco. Monaco said, nope, you can't have him in this early. You have to wait till June to get him back. They were like, fine, whatever, because they wanted too much money. They couldn't find a player. They couldn't find a keeper, backup keeper.
How much of it was Monaco saying no, and how much of it was Nubel saying, no, I'm good?
Well, so here's the problem with Nubel, right? Nubel came from Schalke, as kind of the young prodigy, and this is around when we thought Neuer was done, right? He was or fading. Neuer had a resurgence. Nubel wanted to play. He was promised playing time allegedly, and that never happened. Neuer, keepers are weird. They're very egotistical. They don't want to give up any time. Neuer was not being nice about it. Pretty much Nubel didn't play. Then he went alone a bunch. So he's now in Monaco. He's doing well, pretty well. And now Bayern want him back. Now Nubel apparently also has a problem with the goalkeeping coach at Bayern because that coach kind of sides with Neuer, and the rumors are that he's making a fuss saying I won't come back if the keeper coach is there. So that's not going to happen. So that's Nubel's done. Whether he comes back this summer or he gets sold is a different story. We don't know. Then Bayern, being Bayern with the money, and they have a reputation, whether it's right or wrongly, of buying the competing clubs' best players, are trying to get into the market for Jan Sommer, the Austrian keeper who plays for Gladbach, who apparently only does well when he plays Bayern. There's been a bunch of offers being thrown around, allegedly 4 offers in the last couple of weeks. Gladbach has said no. Jan Sommer is out of contract this summer, so pretty much Gladbach is demanding about 8 to 10 million euros for to lose them 6 months early. Bayern are kind of rebuffing about that, and so that's where they stand. So at the moment, come Friday, when the Bundesliga restarts, round 16, Sven Ulreich will be the starting keeper. Which is a problem because he's not the sweeper keeper that we know Neuer to be. Thus, defense can't play as high up because Neuer does cover a lot of ground as a sweeper keeper. So this is going to change the way Bayern play. Bayern also have Sadio Mane out. He's not coming back till sometime in February. Muller has kind of been in a weird lull. However, Jamal Musiala has been in fantastic form. So we expect to see a lot of him this coming second half of the season.
So it doesn't get off to an easy start for Bayern, who open up their second half of the season with Leipzig.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a tough game, and it's at Leipzig, but really, Leipzig's not a huge cauldron of fan atmosphere. It's going to be a tough game in general because Leipzig is going to come up, but this is the problem with the long break. All momentum dies. We don't know how the players are going to, how they're going to react, how they're going to come up. Who's in start, who's in form. Nobody is in form really. But I expect Bayern to win here. So that should be, it shouldn't be. It's not going to be an easy victory because I think Neuer does provide a lot of help. As he's a proper field player. Like he is not just a keeper. Like he plays with the ball with his feet. So I think it's going to be a struggle without him there. So and then and it's funny you say that because technically there's I think 2 or 3 more match days left in the first half of the season, and then the second half of the season actually starts up again. That's interesting enough. So obviously by the way, also this match is on ESPN2 along with ESPN Plus. So please watch the Bundesliga on Friday. Get off of work early, open a German beer, and go watch the Bundesliga on your cable provider.
We will do the best that we can. It's not my fault every once in a while where work team tends to prevent us from doing those things that we might otherwise enjoy doing most. What else? So give us some teams that we might want to look out for outside of Bayern Munich.
Okay, so you're going to want to look at Freiburg. They start the year at Wolfsburg. I expect Freiburg to do well. And remember, they're going into Europe campaign again in knockout round, so this is good for them. So that should be a good win for them. But I think that's a good matchup to look for. Probably the big matchup that I like is actually there's two of them. So on the Saturday, you got Union Berlin and Hoffenheim. Union Berlin just lost a player to Dortmund, and Ryerson. He's a kind of a fullback / wingback. And Dortmund sit right below them in the table. And Hoffenheim, I think they're a good team, but they haven't done as well as I thought they would this season. Union had a hot start. They faded a little bit toward the latter part of the first half of the season. Until it should be interesting if like a Jordan P. fucking company can get the ball rolling again and come out with 3 points here. So I think it's going to be a really tough matchup for them. It could be a draw for all we know. It's in Berlin. And probably the next matchup I like seeing is Gladbach, and on Sunday, Gladbach versus Leverkusen. You got Florian Wirtz back from ACL surgery. He tore his ACL, missed the World Cup. He was probably going to make the World Cup roster if he didn't tear it. Almost came back for it, but not quite ready. So he's back for Leverkusen. And then you got Gladbach, who knows what keeper they're going to have next week. Jan Sommer could be out the door. But they have a good squad. You got Lars Stindl, who's always, a top player there. Leverkusen also, they have Xavi Alonso. So he's had a longer time with them. He's had a proper camp with them. So it should be interesting to see if he brings out some different tactics and way of playing that fans of the Bundesliga are not familiar with. Xabi Alonso did play in the Bundesliga. He played with Bayern. He studied under Pep. He did manage Real Sociedad's B team over in Spain. I'm kind of like excited to see like what kind of team he plays out there and how they play. So those two matches should be a fun watch.
All right, so be on the lookout for the Bundesliga. Well, gentlemen, it's been a fun ride this evening. I know we had some technical difficulties and things like that, but it's nice to get back into the chair. But I feel like we covered a lot of ground. We talked a little bit about Barcelona and the Spanish Super Cup. Got into the TMZ, talking about Gerard Pique and Shakira's diss track, the North London Derby, a little bit of Serie A, Bundesliga. We got to preview a little bit of Manchester United and Arsenal. And we'll be able to pick up some things next week. So, gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun. For Bayern Rob, Coach G, Producer Stead, and the rest of the cast, I'm Mike. We did all right this week, and we'll try and do better next week.